The Ghost of the Altar, the Secret War for the Veit Stoss. Before the 1st Panzer crossed the border, before the smoke rose over Warsaw, there was a list. It was a list written in the meticulous hand of Nazi art historians, and at the very top sat a masterpiece so divine that Hitler believed it was Germanic property stolen by time. This is the true story of how a small group of museum curators, a double agent, and an American OSS officer engaged in a high-stakes heist across war-torn Europe to save the soul of a nation, one splinter of wood at a time. Part 1. The Krakow Silhouette. The fog over the Vistula River was thick on the morning of August 15, 1939. In the Basilica of St. Mary, the air smelled of centuries of incense and cold stone. Karol Estreicher, a brilliant art historian with a sharp jaw and even sharper wit, stood before the Veit Stoss Altarpiece. It was the largest Gothic altarpiece in the world, a towering 42-foot-tall miracle of lindenwood carved in the late 1400s. Its figures were so lifelike they seemed to breathe. The veins on the hands of the apostles throbbed with silent prayer. "They are coming for it, aren't they?" a voice whispered. It was Borowski, the master carpenter. "The Germans don't just want our land, Borowski," Karol replied, his eyes tracing the gold leaf. "They want our history. If they can prove this was made by a pure German, they can claim Krakow was always theirs. We have to take it down." It was a madness. To dismantle a 5-story structure of delicate 500-year-old wood in total secrecy was an engineering nightmare. But as the clouds of war gathered, Karol and a team of scouts worked by candlelight. They lowered the massive figures, some weighing hundreds of pounds, using pulley systems dampened with oil to prevent squeaking. By the time the Nazi shadows fell over the city on September 1, 1939, the altar was gone. It had been crated and floated down the river on barges, hidden under piles of coal and timber. Part 2. The Hunt of the Siegfried. While Poland fell, the story shifts to the United States. In Washington, D.C., a young man named Frank, a first-generation Polish-American and a former art restorer from Chicago, was recruited into the newly formed OSS, Office of Strategic Services. Frank wasn't a soldier, he was an art scout. His mission was part of what would eventually be known as the Monuments, Fine Arts, and Archives program. "We have reports," his commander told him, sliding a grainy photograph across a desk in a humid D.C. office. "The Nazis have a special unit, the Kunstschutz. They aren't burning art anymore, they're stealing it, and they're looking for a specific altar. If they find it, they'll use it as the centerpiece for Hitler's planned Führer Museum in Linz." Frank was sent to London, then smuggled into the continent. His contact? Karol Estreicher, who was now a man of shadows, moving between the Polish government in exile and the underground resistance. Part 3. The Nuremberg Vaults. The middle of the story is a harrowing journey through the geography of the Third Reich. Through 1942 and 1943, the altar was missing. Karol and Frank tracked it through intercepted telegrams and art world rumors. They discovered the horrifying truth. The Nazis had found the barges. The altar had been seized and taken to the Nuremberg castle, stored in a deep moisture-wicking bunker built hundreds of feet into the rock to protect it from Allied bombings. The narrative details the psychological warfare. The Germans claimed the altar was returning home. Karol, from a radio station in London, broadcasted a message to the Polish underground. "The wood is silent, but the spirit is loud. Do not let them forget what they took." Part 4. The Race Against the Nero Decree. As 1945 approached, the stakes turned lethal. Hitler issued the Nero Decree. If Germany was to fall, All infrastructure and all looted treasures were to be destroyed. They would rather see the Veit Stoss burned to ash than return to Poland. Frank and a small unit of monuments men pushed through the front lines during the invasion of Germany. They arrived in Nuremberg while the city was still a skeleton of fire and rubble. The climax involves a tense standoff in the salt mines and bunkers. They found the crates, but the bunkers were rigged with explosives. Frank, using his knowledge of wood chemistry and restoration, had to identify which crates were the real apostles and move them under heavy sniper fire.